So hello learners, this is Priyadarshi Shubhakant, and once again I welcome all of you to my sessions on CNC milling. So guys, today we'll be discussing regarding the different parts of a CNC milling machine. So after attending this session, you all will be able to identify what are the important parts of a CNC machine. So without wasting much of the time, let us start today's session. So guys, just in the slide I am going to show you the different parts of a CNC milling machine. So first of all, in this slide, as you can see, here you can see some of the orange marks are indicating this is the particularly known as the machine body cover. It acts like a cabinet to the entire machine, which is made up of sheet metal, and it's just a housing to the entire CNC milling machine, and this part is known as machine body cover. Then moving on to the next one, as you can see over here, this is the door, one of the most important part of a CNC machine. So through this door, what you can do now, generally if you want to load a job, unload a job, you want to do the settings of a job, then for that you have to do it through this particular door. So once you open it, generally what happens, now you can load the job, you can unload the job, or you can do the necessary settings whatever it is required, and once you close the door you can start the machine. Then moving on to the next one, the most important part of the CNC machine, as you can see over here, that is the controller. So generally this is the control unit we can say, and from here what happens, now entire motion of the CNC machine or the entire control of the machine is done from this particular unit. That's why it is known as the control panel of the machine. Then the next part we can see, this is the coolant tank. Mostly it is present at the bottom part of the CNC machine. In here what happens, now we used to store the coolant which can be reusable at our required time intervals. At the time of running of the machines we can use this particular coolant tank from here, and this particular coolant can be recycled also, so that continuously we will be keeping on using this particular coolant. So to store that coolant, this coolant tank is used. As you can see over here, it is at the bottom of the CNC milling machines, and you can see what is the construction of this particular coolant tank. Then moving on to the next one, you can see over here, along with the coolant tank, sometimes we also get the chip conveyor attachment. So in this conveyor attachment, what happens now, generally at the time of the operation of machine, CNC milling machine, when there are continuously operations are going on and the chips are coming out of the workpiece, then no need to stop the machine or stop the cycle and clean the chips. So if this conveyor is there, then automatically it will take out all the chips from inside the machine to the outside of the machine. So these attachment, if you see on a CNC milling machines, then you can see that one, or you can say that one, that particularly this attachment is known as chip conveyor attachment. Then next, now you can see on the slide, it is there. If you remove the entire cabinet of the machine, then like this type of structure you will be getting it. So in this what happens, now let me tell you what are the important parts of this machine, because keeping the cabinet I could not be able to show you all these detailed parts, so that's why the cabinet was removed. And here the machine you are seeing, let me tell you regarding the different parts that we are able to see after removing the cabinet. So first of all, starting with the anti-vibration pad, you can see over here. So here anti-vibration pad means generally what happens, these are quite necessary for the machines, and this avoids the unnecessary vibration and give rigidity to the machine. So these are the anti-vibration pads. So starting from the bottom of the machine we are moving now, and the next you can see, that is the base of the machine. This area where the arrow marks are indicating, this is known as the base of the milling machine, CNC milling machine. Okay, then next, the other part we can see above the base, this particular area is known as the saddle, or this particular part is known as the saddle of the CNC milling machine. Then the next one we can see, this is the work table. Above the saddle, whatever we are finding, the part that is the work table on which we can put the vise, or in which also we can directly clamp the job. So this is actually the work table of the CNC milling machine. Then next, moving on to this attachment, this is one of the telescopic cover we can say. So generally there are lead screws to protect this lead screw from dust, dirt and other chips. This particular cover is used. This is known as telescopic cover. So on x-axis, y-axis and z-axis, on 3 axis you can see these types of telescopic covers are used. Then moving on to the next other part, you can see over here, this is the column of the CNC milling machine. Generally after the base, this is the column of the CNC milling machine, which is a vertical erection on the base. Then the next part we can move on, that is the machine spindle, in which you have to put the cutters, or you have to attach the cutters, different types of cutters, and as per that the machine will do the operation, and this part is known as the machine spindle, and this is the spindle of the machine. Then next, this part you can see, this is the coolant outlet. Previous slides we have seen the coolant tank was there, and now this one is the coolant outlet. From that tank, the motor or the pump, generally it will draw the coolant and it will give you out from this coolant outlet. At the time of machining, from this area the coolant will come out. Then the next one of the most important part, that is ATC, that is automatic tool changer. And because of this ATC, some machines they have this facility and some machines they don't have, and this makes a great difference. Any machine who is having this ATC attachment, then those type of machines are called as VMC. Okay, and if this attachment is not there, then generally we can call it as CNC milling machine only. So if this type of attachments are attached, then that particular machine becomes a machine center. So here what happens, now we can see this is a automatic tool changer, and here what happens now at the milling operation, when it is done, there are varieties of tools are required, different tools. It may be end mill, it may be a drill bit, it may be a dial test indicator, it may be a edge finder, different varieties of things we need to use it at the time of operation or before the operation also. So for that purpose, here what happens, now different tools at a time you can keep it in this particular tool palette. So here what happens, at the time of the requirement, if the programming is done properly, so whenever there will be a requirement, as per that the machine will call it, or it will take that tool and it will perform the work. So here the wastage of time for changing the tool will be reduced by this type of attachment. So moving on to the next other part, let us know what is that. Then the next one we can get it, that is your axis. Regarding the axis, so here if you stand in front of a machine, let me tell you, if the machine table is moving from left to right or right to left, then particularly that particular movement is done in the x-axis. As you can see on the slide, that particular movement is done on the x-axis. Then the next one you can see it, if the machine table is moving forward and backward, that particular movement is done on the y-axis. So you can say this is the y-axis of a CNC milling machine. Then the next one you can say, if the spindle is going up and coming down, so then that particular movement is in the z-axis. So this is the z-axis movement we can call it as. So these are the three different axes, x, y and z. Then next, moving on to the, here you can see this particular lead screw I have shown over here. So generally here what happens, now the movement of the different axes are done through this particular lead screw. It is a special type of lead screw. I will be telling you after 3 slides. So here we can see it. This is the slide where we can see this is the lead screw for the movement of the z-axis. Then next we'll go for seeing the movement of the y-axis. As you can see over here, in y-axis what happens, now as the arrow mark is showing here, clearly although the lead screw is not visible, but that particular area your lead screw is there for movement of the y-axis. Then the next one, for x-axis the lead screw is there, also it is not clearly visible in this picture, but still in that area particularly you are finding that this is the lead screw present for the axis movement of x-axis. Then I had told you regarding the lead screw, so here is the slide. This particular lead screw is known as recirculated ball lead screw. So here what happens, now in this type of lead screw there are small types of balls are there, spherical shaped balls are there generally. And here what happens, now why it is used recirculated ball screw, now if this type of recirculated ball lead screw are used, then the initial torque and the total torque required to move the load will be very less, so the load on the motor will be less also. So for this basic purpose, this type of recirculated ball lead screw are used for the movement of the CNC machine axis. So please remember this one. So moving on to the next one, you can see after the lead screw, next one is their guide ways. So generally what happens, lead screw will move the axis, but to guide the axis linearly so that it will move without any disturbances, it will move properly. For that purpose we are having the motion guide ways, that is known as linear motion guide ways. So as you can see, for each axis 2 guide ways are there. So you can see it for x axis 2, for y axis 2 and for z axis two linear motion guideways are given on the CNC machines. So guys, these were some of the important parts of today's session regarding the parts of CNC milling machines. That was all, and hope you liked this particular session, and in upcoming classes we'll be discussing regarding the specification of a milling machine. Till then, have a good day. Thank you all.